Hi everyone, I've decided to play with my swords today. I want to test out my Jian, which is a Chinese straight sword style, against my Katana, which is a curved Japanese style. I've gotten some stuff to test them on. I've cleaned them and given a coat of vegetable oil, not to help lubricate the blade, but I wanted to make sure I didn't have any machine oil left on them, and put some vegetable oil on them just to help with preventing rust and oxidization. So I'm really curious to see how these two compare, and trying to figure out which one of these would be a better WROL sword. And yes, I know this is more of a zombie topic than normal prepping, but I do not own firearms. I mean, I don't have anything against them, I just don't want to go through the months of paperwork to get one that I can only use in a very limited capacity. But I don't need to register swords. I don't need to register bows. And in a WROL situation, if I had to disappear out into the wilderness, I'd be taking a sword with me, because there's stuff out there that will eat you. Ranging from crocs to some really monstrous sized pigs, and of course dogs. Dogs and dingoes are probably the number one concern, just because they're more prevalent and more likely to attack. If I had to disappear into the wilderness, I would definitely take a sword to complement my bow, because I cannot shoot bows fast enough to take out a pack of dogs, but I can certainly swing this at a couple of them, cleave their head in half, or thrust straight through them. In fact, I would love to take this sword pig hunting. Use it as a pig sticker, or maybe my katana. I'm not quite sure. Okay, to be honest, I'd love to take both of them on separate occasions. I'm not going to dual wield double thrust a pig. That's just... Okay, maybe I would, but that's not what I really want to plan on. I'd be taking just one. Man, I would not mind sticking a pig with that thing. And of course, if you get a pig with an arrow, and you know, it's not entirely unheard of it for a pig to charge someone. You hear about it. So if I get charged after I put an arrow in it, I'd probably have a sword for plan B. But I want to know which one of these two swords would be better for hunting in WROL. Which one of these is going to be the tougher sword? Now, while we're at it, and because this is swords, let's throw in zombies. Come on. Let's face it. A lot of people who are going to be searching for WROL swords are going to be the zombie guys, aren't we? So, just to address you guys as well, let's compare these two for zombies. Oops, I've gone. This is a bottom of the market functional sword. The fittings are not perfectly smooth. Katana versus Jian for zombies. Straight sword versus curved. Blah blah blah. The real issue between this Jian and this Katana, if we're talking zombies, would be the fact that this is double bladed. Meaning that there is a blade facing towards you. And if you get in a skirmish with some zombies and you're packing, there's the issue of that blade coming back, and if it's covered in zombie blood, depending on which type of zombies you're going for, if direct fluid contact of zombie fluids onto an open wound is enough to infect you, then if you get that little cut from your sword covered in zombie blood, that would be pretty much a death sentence. Which with the katana is less of an issue because the back of the blade is blunt. So zombies, that reason alone would be enough for me to go for the katana. However, there is a bit more to it than that. In a low-end model like this, I'm not entirely convinced that this thing would survive very long if you're using it for chopping. Now, probably would, I would imagine. I haven't tested it out yet, but the issue with this particular model, which was a $130 Jian sword I picked up from WROL. I love that shop because, you know, it's a sword store that you just walk in. It's not online. You can go in there and see the swords in person before you buy them. I love the shop. So it's designed for more of a thrust than a chop. And yeah, there is room for two hands, and I'd be surprised if this wouldn't be a deadly chopper. And even though it is a very light sword, I'd be quite surprised if this did not cleave down into the skull of a zombie. However, I don't think it would be too durable because of its tang terminating in a threaded bar down the end. See that screw on there? That's what's holding it on. It goes down a relatively thin tang, then that goes down to just a bar or a rat tail that's then threaded, and the whole thing is screwed on really tight. So for thrusting, that shouldn't be that big of an issue. I mean, it's not ideal, don't get me wrong. That's not my preferred method of fixing a blade to a handle by any stretch of the imagination. There are so many more durable ways to do it than that. But thrusting, told it should be alright. I haven't tested it, so only time will tell. So, however, the guy who owns WROL reckons that a sword like this should be able to thrust into human skull. And but sadly I do not have some pigs to test that on, though if I ever get off my rear end and finally start pig hunting, that will change. I so test swords on pigs after I hunted them. So if I'm chopping up the body, I'd want to skin it first to keep the skin so I can turn it into leather and make stuff out of leather with it. Because, you know, you chop it, if I hacked up the skin body, I can still eat those cuts. And I'm not going to kill it just for the sake of killing it. That's not my idea of hunting. But for this, if you really want to chop, until you really want to draw those cuts out, really slice with the cut. And you can slice with a straight sword. And katanas aren't really that curved. This is nowhere near as curved as, say, a toolbar. I'm not entirely sure. I believe the toolbar comes from India, or somewhere around that region. Pretty cool looking sword, but that is a really curved sword. Katana, not so much. So, which one of these would I want for zombies? Definitely the katana. Because the katana is a pinned handle with a thicker tang. And between these two models, this is a $130 Jian, this is a $160 katana. It's about $160. Between the two, I'd go with the katana. With one major modification, the handle on katana is cloth wrapped. Not good for zombies, okay? Because all that blood and gore can soak up into the cotton wrap and presents a biohazard. Sometimes I really want to take off the handle and replace it with a micarta handle, but until then I've got it wrapped in a vinyl camouflage wrap. So not perfect, but at least it's not going to soak up as much. That should keep any. That should hopefully keep most of any fluids soaking into it. So really, I need to start testing these blades to see how they would actually hold up against zombies. I would need lots of tatami or sugarcane, which I don't have, or a lot of zombie go boom pellets. Because we're not just talking one zombie, we're talking a lot of them. Alright, first up I'm going to be testing the Jian. It was $130 from WROL and is primarily a thrusting weapon, so that's how I'm going to test it first. Yeah. Just a light cut all the way through there. So, yeah. That's dead. Now, let's try the Katana. This was about $150 or $165 at WROL. Can't really remember. But still, very affordable. This is a low-end Katana, but still a functional Katana. So, let's see how it does for a thrust. Let's go one-handed, shall we? Fully extended. Alright, so what just happened there? We got full penetration with both blades. There seemed to be slightly more resistance, just a little bit more resistance on the Katana, but did not stop going through until I had completed the thrust. However, it went full thrust effortlessly, even with one hand. So there's a slight benefit in the Jian, but if all we have to go up against is watermelons, the difference is negligible. The Katana thrusted all the way as well, so very little difference. Now, yes, the Jian did go further, but that's because, well, I thrusted further. But I extended my arm the whole way and did a complete thrust on both of them. The difference came down to how far I was from the target. So, the watermelon really did not stop. So the watermelon did nothing to stop either of them. There was just a tiny little bit of feedback on the Katana. So let's try some slashing. Let's do a drawing cut with the Jian on hand. A little high. Sorry. Nothing. That was just completely effortless. I don't even think there's any point testing another watermelon with the Katana. I mean, if the Jian did it that effortlessly, Katana's going to do it. Yes, I have chopped watermelons with katanas before. There is no resistance there. It'll just go right through. Unless you swing it really weakly. And well, as much as I love making great videos, I hate wasting food, so yeah. And already got a lot of watermelon to eat all by myself already, so don't know if I can stomach eating 2 watermelons today. That might be a bit much. So I guess next time we'll be trying out coconuts. Oh, what the hell. Let's do it now. Coconut number 1 with the Jian. The thrust. Well, that answers that question. Bent the tip. I really thought that would just glide through. Look at that, that is just... Oh man. gonna take a bit to fix that up. It's not unfixable, but man, that was sad. That tip did a 180. Ouch. So I really would not want this sword to try and thrust into a zombie skull, as coconuts are sometimes used for an approximation of the hardness of a human skull, so I would not trust this to thrust into a zombie. No way. But it's better we learn this now than if I ever had to, say, try and stick a pig that was charging me. I'm not going to try and thrust through the skull with one of these. But let's see how well it does slashing. Is that a hit? That's just... Ooh, I can lance off the top. Go down. Oh wait. Oh man, I do not want to eat that coconut. That is moldy. Let's see, is there any damage to the blade? I'm not seeing any damage. So for this blade, it looks like it might be better off chopping, despite the shortcomings of the handle. If the handle ever breaks, well, I can fix the handle or replace it completely. Maybe even do up a micarta handle, put some pins through it, maybe. I know I would have to see what kind of material I have to work with inside of that. Very surprising results. I did not think that was going to happen. But let's see how a katana does thrusting with a coconut. Oh! Just... Oh, see? Oh no. Handle's already coming loose after just that. So, as a practical WROL sword, I'm going to have to go against this Jian from Warsword. It's a beautiful sword. Deadly against the person, I do believe. I believe it would probably be very deadly against flesh, but durability is an issue. And thrusting into something. And thrusting into coconuts, just not something I would use. Right, let's try the katana. Alright, so I got a pretty sizable chunk of coconut left. Try to get as much out of it as possible. Let's try thrust with the katana. Oh, I missed! I guess I'm not very good at thrusting with sword. Again. Who am I kidding? We won't be thrusting with katana, would we? We'd be chopping it. Let's see how this does. Ta-da! Man, that is some nasty mold on that. But, oh well. So I guess for the money, if you're going to be buying a WROL blade, katanas are probably the way to go. I have heard that because they make so many, you do get better quality for your money just because there's so many on the market. They've got to be competitive. But I'm not going to be thrusting with one of these. Ooh, did I damage that tip at all? Or is that old damage? I can't tell. Wait. Yeah, there's a tiny little bit of a roll. I didn't even notice until I really had to look for it. Unlike that huge 180 wave we saw on the Jian. There's a tiny little bit, that'll come out easy. But this isn't really, but for thrust, this does the trick. Alright everyone, hope you have a good one. See you.